first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion that the agenda be approved? I'm sorry, I should ask, are there any corrections or changes that anyone would like to make to the agenda? Commissioner Siegel.
Thank you. I would move to strike item 14A as it's redundant to item 10. I say item 11. My mistake.
I've got a different agenda than you do.
Hi, my name is Patrick Ayala.
First, let me remind everyone of the rules of public comment. You have 2 minutes, and at 1 minute 30 seconds, you will have a notice that you have 30 seconds left. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I said note on your report of a job well done on your website, and I don't know if you've received it, but I'd like to read it to you now, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. Our son Paul Ayala was murdered on April 30th, 2013 at the Super 8 Hotel on University in Manal. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to the homicide unit of the Albuquerque Police Department. These detectives and officers worked hard to find the persons involved in killing of our son Paul. They kept us up to date as much as possible and always assured us that Paul would not be another killing goes unsolved. They treated us with respect and compassion. We would like the citizens of Albuquerque to hear about the great job these detectives and officers did. We only hear when they make mistakes, and those seem to make the news. These women and men of the Albuquerque Police Department deserve to be recognized by the citizens of Albuquerque for a job well done. Sergeant Liz Thompson, Detective Holly Anderson, Detective Jason Morales, Detective Andrea Ortiz, Detective Matt Chaplin, Detective David Gonzalez, Detective Jody Guterman, Detective Mark Manry, Detective Jeff Stone, Officer Scott McRuff, Officer Gil V. Hill, and the officers of the Repeat Offender Project and the Gang Unit. Please let the citizens of Albuquerque know what a great group of police officers they have working for them. Thank you from Patrick Ayala, Sheila Ayala, and our beloved son Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Ayala.
Also, we have a couple of the officers here. I would like for them to stand up and be recognized, please.
Please. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
My condolences. Yes, Mr. Shine.
May I just say, Mr. Allen, I also appreciate very much your coming here and bringing to our attention, all of us obviously offer our condolences to your loss, but it is unusual to have someone come before us to commend the police department, and there are a lot of, as you know as well as we do now, there are a lot of very honorable, effective, competent police officers protecting the citizens of the city.
That's definitely true. This is Paul's mom.
Hi.
Ms. Sheila Ayala.
My name is Sheila Ayala, and I am what's left of Paul's mom. And it doesn't bring Paul back, but having worked with this wonderful group of individuals has given us some comfort, and there is some comfort in knowing what, when, where, and why, what happened to Paul happened to him. And we are blessed to have worked with these wonderful police officers and detectives, and also their sergeant.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Commissioner Siegel has a question.
Yeah, it's not these people. Thank you for opening your hearts to us as well. Must be hard. When these types of letters are received, will you forward them to us in the future or put them in our packets?
As part of the my changes to the website that I've done in my role, there is a form that you can fill out to report a job well done, and we receive today we received 105 this year. So the question is, do you want all of them, or?
I certainly would like to see each and every one of them, absolutely.
Are they visible on the website?
No, just the
No.
form to make a job well done report. It's on the form just as though you can file a complaint against a police officer for alleged misconduct. You can also give accommodation to a police officer who's done a good job. And they're about 50% ratio of 1 to 2 of the complaints. And it's not been well publicized that you can do that. So it's basically people looking hard for a way to make a report that a police officer's done a good job.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Shine.
May I suggest, I don't know if this would be unreasonable, and I've asked the IRO whether it is, not going back, but from in the future, is it possible that you could, each month when we get our package, we could get a copy of any of those commendations that were filed in the prior month?
Sure.
That way we could see what's happening from that point of view on the police department as well.
Sure.
Commissioner Foster.
May I make a compromise, and then maybe she could do this during her report? Instead of increasing her package a little bit, that she adds this to her report that she gives us every month?
Just seems like that would lengthen our meeting
Yeah.
as opposed to giving us something to read.
Mr. Chair, I would prefer to get something in writing, just review it and not have to take up time at the meeting.
You've had 105 over a period of time, I mean, a number of months.
Since the beginning of the year. When I implemented it in mid-January, I believe.
So each month there aren't
There are about
105.
10.
Okay. All right, our next public speaker is Mr. Charles Harrison.
Sorry, good evening. I just wanted to say that I'd like to ask for your approval of the proposed amendments that we'll be talking about later tonight to your rules, being that you all are trying to improve community relations, that I don't see it a big issue allowing people to speak here for a little bit longer than just 2 minutes. So I just ask for your approval to those amendments to your rules. Thank you. Oh, and one other thing. Part of our agreement was that a email address be set up so that the people have direct contact to you, not through the IRO. And I was wondering where that stands.
I believe it has been set up.
Mr. Du Bois told me last month that it was in the process of being set up, so I'm a little surprised that it hasn't been.
Well, I looked at the website this morning. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, we'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Francis, you have, just from your seat, you may.
Mark Luhan.
I'd like to thank you guys for the chance to speak here. I'd like to speak for a moment to the dubious honor that Albuquerque has risen to #1 in police homicides in this country. I think it's unprecedented that should happen in a town of our population or our population, and I argue that honor has a starting point. And I believe that the starting point was when former Mayor Chavez, pulled the video cameras from the cruisers, thus effectively keeping the police officers off of the camera. And I think it's easily traced. If the journalists in this town would actually do some research, I think they'd find that it can be traced to just that. I think it's also strange that the new mayor, Mayor Barry, he wants cameras everywhere. He's speaking publicly about having cameras and wanting cameras in the intersections, red light cameras. He's got a new camera downtown, which is on a generator. It's got a big generator. It's got a 40, 50-foot pole with 4 cameras on top so he can police with video cameras the residents of Albuquerque area. So it's actually called the Albuquerque Smart Policing Division, which is interesting. It implies that maybe there's another type of policing. But I think it's funny that, you know, that they want cameras there. They want them in the intersections. They want them lapel cameras, anything to improve their job, except for they just don't want the police on the cameras. And I would like somebody to take a little time and look at that and consider the possibility that these officers not being filmed on camera affects their behavior. It's like anything else, you know. I mean, I think science and history and business has certainly proven the worth of having cameras everywhere. Businesses save a lot of money by having cameras, and yet our mayor doesn't, and our city council doesn't want cameras in the cruisers. And I think that says something. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the end of our public comments.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more, sorry.
Stella Padilla.
Stella
Padilla.
Padilla. Ms. Padilla, come forward, please.
My name is Stella Padilla. I want to thank you, the Police Council, for hearing us and giving us a chance to voice our opinion as a community. I'm a native New Mexican. I've lived in New Mexico all of my life. I raised my babies here. They've raised their babies here, and now there's another generation coming, and it saddens me to no end when I was growing up, the police had a little caption on their car that says to protect and serve. I was not afraid of police officers. They seemed to be there to protect and serve, to take care of us, our issues with our neighbors, our families, and now the younger generation is saying, if you're fighting the neighbor or the dog, don't call the cops. You don't know which way it's going to swing. You don't know who's going to show up, who's going to get up, who's going to get shot, who's going to get thrown in jail. They need cameras on the cars, lapels, whatever it takes to capture whatever's going on in any dispute so that they are here to protect and serve. That bill caption that was removed after I don't know how long. But police have to be more accountable. We're the taxpayers. We pay them to protect and serve us. And if that's not the job that they're doing, then we as taxpayers are being robbed, literally, if we're afraid to call them to help us in any situation. Like I said, the younger generation is like more afraid of them for whatever reason. And if you're get a cop that's even racist, you're really in trouble. And if they have cameras on them and there's action being taken against the community by a police officer, it'll be clear to see that the person that is being attacked maybe didn't have a fault. These senior citizens that are being attacked by police officers, the diabetics and driving on the streets, and kids that are just that not at fault, and for some reason get a police officer that's having a bad day or whatever reason they got attacked, they need to be held accountable for that. And I think cameras is the safest way to prove that the innocent party is innocent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you have a question for
Yeah.
Ms. Padilla? Ms. Padilla, Commissioner Shine has a question for you.
Okay.
Ms. Padilla, thank you for coming down, but I just want to clarify, do you understand that there is already a standard operating procedure that the officers have to wear lapel cameras and they have to turn those on when they have contacts with citizens? You aware of that?
I'm aware of that, but it doesn't seem that that's the case all the time, because I have a lot of neighbors.
That's another problem, I understand.
Uh-huh.
But the other cameras you're talking about, are you talking about dash cams
Yes,
that are on the
Absolutely.
police car?
absolutely.
Okay.
They were there before, and they seem to be very effective, and now they're gone.
I think the last speaker was making reference to the city council. Would that issue come up in front of the city council, do you know?
I didn't attend it if it did.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public comments. Review and approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
I
Shine, we
move
have,
to approve the August 8th, 2013 minutes.
okay. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there discussion? All in favor, please say aye, or raise your right hand, sorry. It is unanimous.
Mr. Chair?
Move to September 12th. Yes, Commissioner Shine.
Mr. Chair, I move that the September 12th, 2013 minutes be remanded back to the IRO's office. I had a number of very substantive changes that need to be made in here, and I don't think that warrant taking up the time of the commission to do. So I propose that we remand them. I'll submit my substantive changes to the IRO's office, and if they agree with them, they can be drafted.
Is there a second?
Well, second. I also had some changes to these minutes as well. And I will somehow I'd like to correlate those so that we don't give the office two conflicting sets of changes to make.
That would be
I
good.
don't know how to do that. I don't want to violate Open Meeting Act, but just
I-
two of us meeting, we
I
can do
think the
that.
two of you could get together and decide what,
I'll be happy to give my draft to Commissioner Siegel, and he can combine them if he wants.
is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Foster?
I would like to recommend that if we have any changes to minutes, that we don't take up our time as a commission and we give them to the IRO prior to this, to the commission meeting, if we may.
Well, that would be the ideal thing prior to the meeting, but that didn't happen in this case, so,
In the future, it'd be nice.
okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of remanding the September 12th meeting minutes back for changes, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Mr. Foster is opposed. All right. So we move on to citizen appeals. Ms. Sammer, is there an appeal tonight?
Yes. Yes. If I may, Mr. Chair, suggest that you read the rules, the time limits that are contained in the POC rules with respect to appeals.
Okay, let me find those right
I
quick.
didn't read out loud, not just.
Right. Page 3, 4. That's all of the rules for the appeals. The appeal shall be limited to 45 minutes unless we determine additional time is necessary. The appellant, when making the appeal, shall be given 15 minutes to speak, present their side of the discussion. We ask that you not use officers' names during your presentation. You may refer by initial. Then the APD and the IRO's office will be given 10 minutes each to present their side of the discussion. Police officers who are subjects of the complaint and appeals shall be given 5 minutes to speak. And then the appellant shall be given 5 minutes at the end to conclude the presentation. Is there any question about those rules?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I clarify that in the 5 minutes given to the police officer, that's if he voluntarily appears, because we cannot compel the police officer to come.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And we, of course, as commissioners, may ask questions if necessary. So, please come to the mic, and you have 15 minutes, and you'll hear a chime, and you have 30 seconds remaining.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to the chairman and the commissioners here today. My name is Nira Kitana. I'm a resident of New Mexico for more than 40 years, except for a short sojourn to California where I received my degree at the University of California, Santa Cruz.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. If I just interject, the appellant is not Ms.
Yes, I am. I'm one of the people that was there that evening, so let me continue.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you need to cease for a moment.
The complaint was filed by Ms. Batista.
They were filed by both of us, Ms. Hammer. Ms. Hammer, they were filed by both of us. It happened to both of us, and I'm here to present a short presentation. Rita will take up the details of the case. I would appreciate the opportunity to go forward.
Okay, well, let me clarify for you. You have 15 minutes total
That's
for the
fine.
two of you.
Let me
Sure.
continue then.
All right.
Maria and I are here to present our appeal and to speak on behalf of ourselves and that class of citizens.
I'm sorry, I interrupt you again. Your co-appellant is,
Yes, sir. Commissioner Cameron, commissioners, we received directions in the mail from the POC saying that if there's one person, they have 15 minutes and then 5 minutes to wrap up at the end. Then they said if there's two people, each person has 15 minutes with 5 minutes to wrap up at the end. And I believe we have that letter here for you. And I think it's very important that you do that. We have the letter that was written to us saying,
Let me finish.
oh, yes, sir. But I just want you to know that we did receive those instructions, sir.
We are here to present our appeal and to speak on
Excuse
behalf
me,
of
just a moment.
ourselves.
I have not made a ruling on this. Ms. Hammer.
I believe the instructions are, if there are two separate appellants, as in two separate cases are joined together, that each would have, but if there's one case, there's 15 minutes for that side of the case. And
My
That is my
presentation
understanding, and
is,
that is my ruling. You have 15 minutes, the
That's
two of you together.
that's fine, let me finish
May
and we'll get
continue.
on with it. Maria and I are here to present our appeal and to speak on behalf of ourselves and that class of citizens who have had similar encounters with APD, but who may be too afraid to speak or think they might not have the education or vocabulary to step up to the podium. Some years ago, when I was a child, or many years ago, police officers were our friends and neighbors. There was no need for the ACLU or POC to protect our rights as citizens. When you saw that blue uniform, you knew you were safe. He, and they were all he's then, wore that uniform with pride and responsibility. But I am not here to wax poetic about days gone by. Fast forward to July 12, 2012 at about 8:30 p.m. when 4 alleged APD officers, officers F, M, D, and P, barged into the home I shared with Maria Bautista. One moment they were at the gate and then the courtyard, and the next moment they were in the house, barking questions and issuing orders to sit down. They never introduced themselves or gave us their names. This blue uniform has been sullied. Those who wore it in this action are not even obligated to be present here. The handout we were given, entitled Appeals to the POC Procedures, clearly states, quote, historically, police officers do not come to the appeal hearing, end quote. However, that statement became part of an appeals procedures is a mystery to me. The actions of officers F, M, D, and P precipitated this entire complaint and appeal, and by virtue of their unacceptable absence serves to diminish the merits of an appeal. Our appeal is predicated upon several issues. One is the thoughts and philosophies police officers sometimes demonstrate when they are involved with citizens who are often viewed as suspects, and the fear that citizens have when confronted with APD. What follows is a quote attributed to Officer Q, an officer employed with APD. Quote, this liberal, retarded band of vengeful activists called Albuquerque makes me sick. These bunch of uneducated, subhuman animals that constantly attack us, march against us, and sue us. It is us against them, end quote. Officer Q is no doubt a colleague of alleged APD officers F, M, D, and P, those men who barged into our home on July 17th. They often share these similar thoughts and philosophies with regard to citizens they are sworn to protect. On July 20th, 2012, an article appeared in the Albuquerque Journal about the new police academy director, Joseph Wolf. Mr. Wolf acknowledged that the old days of Gestapo-like chanting and marching at the academy were over, and that APD should tactically soften their approach. This is not an occupying army, he said. Yet, here in Albuquerque, there exists an occupying army. Complaints abound of unjustified arrests, excessive force, questionable use of firearms, and more on the part of APD. We are fully cognizant of the difficult and dangerous job police and peace work is. We know, too, that officers called out on any type of call place their lives at risk. I am personally thankful that there are outstanding individuals willing to die to protect my life. Nonetheless, reports of aggressive, even violent behaviors continue to surface, and more are being repeated and are being reported. Over and over again, officers are exonerated or only partially reprimanded for their conduct. Another issue, the investigation of complaints is conducted by the independent review officer, who is not independent at all, but a city employee. Case after case is presented by the IRO to the POC at their meetings, a commission which, 1, has no investigative authority, 2, no disciplinary authority, 3, no legal authority, 4, no claim adjustment authority, 5, no monetary award authority, and 6, no mediation authority. These facts place yourselves in a position not to refute any of the IRO's findings in this appeal. An appeal based in part on our contention that the IRO's reports, findings, and conclusion are at odds with the facts. We were, after all, the parties who witnessed the behavior of and suffered under officers P, M, D, and S. Commissioner Shine candidly pointed out at the September meeting that the Commission cannot even make an independent decision on an officer's behavior, but effectively rubber stamps the decision of the IRO. 2 things are clear to me. 1, APD officers are often out of control and demonstrate unacceptable, violent, aggressive behavior. 2, APD officers, as a result of this reprehensible conduct, do need an oversight commission, however, with the power and authority as I outlined above. I find that the POC is instead bogged down in details, descriptions, meetings and minutes, motions and seconds, ordinances and regulations, standard operating procedures, technicalities that allow for officers to walk away from any incident reported with little or no expectation to act with honor or respect toward the citizens they are sworn to protect. As a result of all of this, the heart and soul and moral obligation regarding protection of citizens is laid to the wayside. While we were interviewed in September 2012 by another city staff member, this independent review officer never called, never emailed, never texted, never wrote a letter to either of us regarding any of the facts and circumstances of the APD home invasion, which occurred a full 15 months ago. And she presented her findings and conclusions to the POC. While we walked away apparently unscathed from this hideous interaction, that is, we were not tased, phased, arrested, handcuffed, shot, nevertheless, to have barged into our home, failed to identify themselves, disturbed our dinner, surrounded Maria, turned up the TV, acted like a SWAT team on steroids, walked through our home and bedrooms, caused our dogs to become extremely agitated and barking at the officers' raised voices is absolutely unacceptable. Their search and seizure mentality and invasion of our home is unacceptable. We were not free to leave. Maria will address the specific details of that evening, and we haven't even talked about the missing lapel camera. While our entire summer evening on July 17, 2012 was ruined, may seem of little or no consequence, I submit that for the want of a nail, the kingdom was lost.
That was very nice, Mayor. Thank you. Gentlemen, Commissioner Cameron, Foster, Siegel, Varela, Peterson, Barker, and Shine. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here. And thank you very much for listening to the appeal. I have a diagram of our home. I don't know if it can be put up on this or not. I did consult with the POC office, and they said I was going to blow it up. We can't have an easel. Those things are not provided. So I'd like to know if I can have your permission to please, sir, approach the bench so that I can give you a copy.
You may. I believe you have about 5 minutes left of your time.
No, I'll do my best, sir. The directions weren't that clear when we read them, and I apologize for that. but I'm asking that you please listen to us, because you really don't have that many appeals that come before you. Could you gentlemen share that?
Sure.
I'm so sorry, I really am. There just weren't, those services weren't available, and we would have had them here for you. I do feel that cutting them back to 15 minutes is unfair, since there was 2 of us in the home, and you had 2 investigators and 1 officer. I don't know if this works or not, but the reason that this is important, and I would love to give one to Mrs. Hammer, is because our home is small. Nira and I are known as Maria Bautista and Nira Gitana. Nira opened her appeal with a position paper so that you could better understand our perspective, which was totally disregarded and instead used as filler in a template that used pro forma language to defend a simple complaint that took a year and a half to get to this point. I did not label the officers with letters of the alphabet. I would like to ask the IRO officer to please assign those letters to the officer so that I can refer to them as we talk about this appeal.
I'm not sure what you're asking for.
When those officers came into my home, Mr. Cameron, I did not know who they were. I was so upset I didn't know their names or who they were. I believe that they labeled them as the report labeled them, if I can please take the time, sir, they labeled them as officers F, M, D, and P.
Those are
Their
your
de-
initials.
Yes, sir, not mine. So I don't know which officer, according to them, is F, M, D, and P, but for the purpose of this appeal, it's important because what you have on your desk now is a copy of where those officers were when they came into my home and surrounded me. And I do believe it's important. Ms. McDermott, just for your review, ma'am. This is very important, gentlemen, because I can't refer to who the gentlemen are if the officers, if I don't have their initials. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think you're gonna need to get beyond this.
Well, I am, sir. I'm trying. You
Do
see
your
me
best.
moving. You see me moving. You have to remember, I'm 66 years old, and I don't have a left leg. And I'm going as fast as I can. I didn't label the officers with letters of the alphabet. I'll do my best to try to describe who they were. Before I go on with this appeal, I would like for you to keep these concerns in mind. And these are relevant to the appeal. Number 1, missing lapel camera. Number 2, the findings by the IRO. Number 3, the interim chief's signature on a document, although the IRO hadn't completed her findings. Clarification as to who Officer Bautista is, and threats by the officers as they left her home. For clarity in the findings, I have outlined these areas of contention as examples of how these complaints are investigated and how one-sided the outcomes are. But most important is the confusion demonstrated by the IRO in preparing her findings, an indication to me that this is just a matter of fact, but to us it was life and death. Nira and I are not cop haters. We have written letters of commendation to the Sheriff's Department, the State Police, and the Albuquerque Police Department, most recently commending the mayor for the appointment of interim chief Alan Banks. I went to school with the Banks family. We are familiar with police at home and in the community. My uncle, Gilbert Candelaria, was an Albuquerque police officer and later a detective. My cousin, Fernando Rivera, was the police chief in Taos, New Mexico, and later an officer in Santa Fe. My cousin, Milton Baca, was a constable in the Santa Fe Plaza. And most recently, our son, David Gentry, retired from the Rio Rancho Police Department. They were peace officers. I'm going to describe what happened in my home the evening of July 17th. It was 98 degrees outside. We had our blinds drawn. We were eating dinner. It was about 8:30, roughly. According to officer, I don't have which officer it was because I didn't get the labeling. They did it. It documents that this officer on the CD of the camera lapel shows the other officers walking to my home, and they were stopped at a wrought iron gate that was closed, and there was a doorbell. They did not use that doorbell. They opened the gate and they walked into my property without permission. After thoroughly reviewing landmark U.S. Supreme Court cases, and you know what they are, or I could name them, Payton, Knapp, Olmsted, there's absolutely a long-standing tradition in law that there simply is no place for subjective feelings of an officer in the law, especially where the constitutional rights of citizens are at stake. The home is no longer a place of sanctuary. The Fourth Amendment has been gutted, and the police today have been conditioned to see citizens they serve as other, the enemy. This was quoted by Officer Q. And if you like that, we can provide it. We could not defend ourselves in our home. Every man's home is his castle. What would you do? All of a sudden, there's a knock at the inner door of our home. The screen door was open, and they knocked on the home door. I asked who was there, and they responded, APD, open up, we want to talk to you. We said, just a minute. In the IRO response, she said that the door was not open. I can show you her notation if you need to see it. Not true. The front screen door was open, the house door was closed. When I opened the door and I politely said, can I help you? An officer, and you can see it on the lookout video, put his foot into my threshold and pushed himself forward with his thigh as he was trying to say, may I come in? There wasn't a choice. They came in. If I had not stepped back, they would have walked over me. In this instance, sir, our dignity and self-respect was devoid of any human interaction. We're senior citizens. We're not teenagers. We don't have weapons. And we were treated like prisoners in our own home. There's an issue. It's called illegal search and seizure. In determining whether an individual has been seized, there are several factors that need to be considered. Number one, the threatening presence of the officers. Number two, the brandishing of a weapon by an officer. Number three, the physical touching by an officer. Number four, aggressive language or tone of voice by an officer indicating compliance and compulsory responses.
I'm going to give you 5 more minutes.
I appreciate it, sir. Interaction in a small, enclosed, or non-public place. And 6, absence of other members of the public. They had us. And we didn't commit a crime. As they entered my home and surrounded me, one officer moved quickly towards his weapon and gripped the revolver, totally and completely frightening me. I brought it to the attention of the other officers. I would like to say, Section 16246, brandishing a weapon. A person commits the offense of brandishing a weapon when the person exhibits any behavior carrying a deadly weapon or dangerous weapon in a courthouse, a school, a home, or any other public meeting. No, none of the cameras showed the officer doing that, especially the lost camera. However, you can hear my voice in the background. You can hear me say, why is he doing that? Why did he reach for his gun? You can hear it loud and clear. To the IRO, that's incidental, but to me, it wasn't. I was terrified because there's a history that goes with that. And I thought I was going to be killed. I was scared to death. I was on the verge of tears, just like I am now, remembering it. The IRO response says repeatedly, Maria was confused, she was flustered and distraught. Those are subjective feelings, both of the officers and the IRO, because who's the medical professional to determine those things? I was actually scared rather than confused or distraught or flustered. When the officers surrounded me, I turned my back and I tried to go to the door to get Ms. Gitana, Mira. One officer quickly waved for the other officer to track me, and he said to the officer, get her, like that. All I did was turn my back to open the door so Mira could come in. Another example of the per forma language that runs through each officer's statement is another excuse for their behavior, trying to diminish reality, throwing up smoke and mirrors to you so that it detracts from the bottom lunches, hunches,
and acting as qualified medical professionals doesn't get it. We're protected by Olmsted. We're protected under the law. Albuquerque police are resembling ground troops. The consequences have been dire. The home is no longer a place of sanctuary. At the very core of the Fourth Amendment, that's the right of a man to retreat into his own home and there be free from unreasonable government intrusion. Retreating home must always be respected, lest the very foundations of this country crumble. They talk about a time frame. Let me tell you about a time frame. Things can happen in a short amount of time, and it feels like a lifetime. Time stops things. It moves at slow motion. Being questioned in an aggressive manner over and over, the same question, creates a time warp. It's a SWAT team mentality to come in screaming and disorient the people at the home. But for goodness sakes, this was a suicide call, not a murder. We took the time to write Mayor Barry, we wrote to Chief Schultz, we wrote to the POC, we wrote to the new director, hoping somebody would get back to us and say, oh, we're so sorry this happened, let's see if we can't do something and get together. Nothing, not a comment. I want to bring you back to this again. Look at the CD, look at the cameras that were available. They document these things. The thing that is most frightening was that the officer leaving twice said to me, and this is how he did it, don't make this any bigger than it already is. What did he mean? How much bigger was it? He said that twice to me. Don't make this any bigger than it already is. They had made a mistake. They were at the wrong house. What was I supposed to do? Not send you a letter of complaint or have bad feelings? What are the actions I want you to take? Send this back to the IRO so she can complete her investigation. Justice is not one-sided. Presenting this case to POC for approval without letting us participate is a violation of our due process. Suggestion for the POC, in all fairness, do not send recruits or cadets on these calls because that's what accompanied these officers. Are they insured? Is that really the environment for field work? Was it the recruit or the cadet who moved towards his weapon? And at that point, did anybody say anything to him? While attending the task force meeting, Stephanie Lopez, the president of the police union, said there are several master-level police officers who have taken the de-escalation training, yet they're the last officers that are available at any kind of a suicide attempt. They didn't come to my house.
Okay, ma'am, that's the end of your time.
All right, I appreciate that you gave me that much time. I wish you would let us finish. I have a page and a half.
That is the end of your time.
Mr. Chair, could I make a motion to add 3 minutes to the lady's time?
Could I at this point renew my objection? Ms. Batista filed the complaint while Ms. Hitana was present and was a witness. Ms. Batista individually filed the complaint, and there is one party in this. To have given one party 20 minutes is more than enough.
I still would stand by my motion.
Okay, Commissioner Shine makes a motion to overrule the chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please?
Wait a minute, I have a discussion.
Yes, Commissioner Foster.
According to the rules that we have, that you have read, we give the person 15 minutes. You have gone ahead, sir, and given her an additional 5 minutes. Now there is an additional 3 minutes. My question is, she has presented her case, and presented her case very eloquently, but you don't need to give 3 additional minutes. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of overruling the chair's ruling, please raise your right hand.
Raise it 3 minutes.
To grant 3 minutes. Okay, all opposed? Okay, the motion dies. That is the end of your time. Ms. Hammer.
Sir, for clarification, I have an additional 5 minutes after Mrs. Hammer completes hers. Is that correct?
And, yes, you have the privilege to wrap up.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
May I ask, we are allowed to ask questions, is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
With the chair's discretion, yes. You may ask
I
a
would
question.
ask you to see if you can find this letter where you think you were granted 15 minutes each, and you'll just be able to show us that in the next few minutes.
Yes, sir, we'll
While
go back.
you're researching it, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, and I'd just like to
It might
try
just-
and
Yes,
get that
sir, it might
cleared up.
just be a clarification for forms the next time.
Thanks.
I thought it was one case.
Thank you.
Pursuant to the rules, APE goes next.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Lieutenant Jordan, that's correct?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. Lieutenant Eric Jordan, Albuquerque Police Department. Yeah, we're going to present to you the actual rappel cam video of this incident. And then I'll stand for any questions if you declare.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stein.
may I inquire, will this be broadcast on government TV? Or is it just going to be shown in the room?
I have no idea. It's up to GovTV.
I'm not sure, Commissioner.
If there's anything we can do to get it on government TV, it'd obviously be helpful to have the government TV people to do that.
Commissioner Foster.
Lieutenant, there were 4 officers there, I understand. Are we gonna see lapel cameras from all 4 officers or just this one?
Due to the time limits, we're going to show two, there were 3 videos we're going to show 2.
Okay,